You wanted to cover this as well, Don. Preseason picks, USA Today, Cleveland.com, they all selected the Big Ten based on where they project these teams to finish. So here's a look at them, and as you'll see here, USA Today is on the left side, Cleveland.com on the right. Cleveland.com has long been the de facto Big Ten preseason poll because the Big Ten Conference does not release an official preseason Big Ten poll. So you see Iowa there, picked 6th by USA Today, picked 5th by Cleveland.com. The first thing I want to point to in answer to Lisa's question, the first two teams are projected by both sets of media members. So Oregon actually got first place votes on both sides. It actually surprised me because I think Ohio State is as big of a favorite as we've had in this conference in a long time based on what they return, the transfer class in, their freshman class in. So you've got Ohio State first, Oregon second, and then Michigan, Penn State, very close for that third spot. In fact, a tie in the USA Today poll, and then kind of a back and forth between Iowa and USC. And then Wisconsin, Nebraska, and basically media members agree on most of the top 8. You see the top 10 is pretty close. Washington, Rutgers flip-flopped with each side. Maryland, your consensus number 11. And then there's quite a bit of disagreement when you look at 12 through 18, or I should say, 12 through 18. But the first thing that pops out when you look at this graphic as it relates to the teams that play Iowa with the asterisk in the gold, Iowa plays one team projected in the top 6. They get Wisconsin at home. They get Nebraska at home. They get Washington at home. Don, based on these preseason polls by both USA Today and Cleveland.com, with the exception of being Ohio State, they don't play a single team projected to finish in the top 10 of the conference. They don't play a single one of those teams on the road.
That is correct.
That's about as favorable as it gets, Coach. I
did look ahead to the fall of 25. The fall of 25, we will face 3 teams that will be highly ranked.
Yeah.
We have to go to Southern Cal, and we welcome Oregon and Penn State into Kinnick.
Great.
So those are 3 of the best teams in the league, obviously, and they're reflected that way when you look at the board.
But this is opportunity knocking, Don. I mean, with this schedule and all the seniors that Kirk has coming back, this is opportunity knocking, folks. And you might be kind of playing with house money with that Ohio State game. Not that it won't matter. Like, yeah, you don't – it's another loss if you lose. But at the same time, they can lose that game and still very, I think, quite straightforwardly make the college football playoff because they go 11-1, they're in. I think they're in a 10-2 unless they get just blown out in their 2 losses. I think they're in at 10-2. I know there's some disagreement there. I think the tiebreaker set of criteria could come into play, Don, because you have Iowa having not played. Again, they don't play USC, don't play Michigan, don't play Penn State, don't play Oregon. I talked with Mark about this. I believe Michigan plays Oregon. But, boy, just so many good teams at the top there, and Iowa avoids a lot of them. Don, what did you want to cover as it relates to these preseason polls?
Well, I'm kind of along the same line that you looked at there, Corey. I actually looked at 3 different polls. One of them was Cleveland.com, and a lot of people might look down their nose at Cleveland.com. The truth is there's 27 voters. 18 of them are from the 18 Big Ten schools.
Yeah.
They cover those teams. So they're very knowledgeable about their team. And, of course, knowledgeable about the whole league. The other 9 all cover the Big Ten too, but not one specific team. Maybe they work. I don't even know who they all are. It doesn't matter to me. But it just told me these are 27 people that know a lot about all of these teams, know quite a bit about them. So I took it as a valid poll. It's one of them that I used. The other 2 I used ESPN. ESPN has some kind of computer system to evaluate who's better than who. And I thought, okay, that sounds pretty valid. And my 3rd preseason ranking was Athlon. And I don't know that Athlon's any better than USA Today or anyone else, but I just had access to that. What I did, Corey, I first took a note. Where is Iowa ranked among these 3 different rankings? ESPN, we were 7th. Athlon, we were 6th. And as you already mentioned, Cleveland.com, we were 5th. That averages out to a preseason ranking of 6.0, or sixth, if you will. But if you just didn't work the numbers, 6.0. That sounds pretty good. The bad news, Ohio State was second, first, and first. I guess that's 1.33. So they are a prohibitive favorite to show themselves as the best team on our schedule. There's not much doubt about that. It'll be surprising if anybody else plays football on the same high level as Ohio State. Anybody else on our schedule. Could happen, but it's hard to imagine there's a more difficult assignment than at Columbus. Thankfully, it only counts as one. What I did, I looked at all 9 opponents and all 3 rankings, and then I took the numbers and I crunched all the numbers. Here's what I found. Our average ranking was 6th. Our opponent's average ranking, even including Ohio State, is one of those 9. The average ranking of our opponents, 10.2, 10.2, 10.4, an average of 10.3. That means even after that first team is factored in with all these others, we still only average to be 10 point something with our opponents. We are ranked higher than everyone on our conference schedule except Ohio State. When you look at all 3 polls, we're 6.0. Nobody's close to that among our other 8 opponents. Based on preseason rankings, our next 3 opponents with the highest rankings, same thing you mentioned, Corey, Wisconsin 7.7, Nebraska 8.3, Washington 8.7, all of which come to Kinnick. So we couldn't have a more favorable schedule. Incidentally, we're catching Washington at a great time simply because they lost all kinds of really good players and their coaching staff. It's the perfect time to play Washington, and if we have to go west and play someone, without question, UCLA is the best choice. Unless it's Washington instead of UCLA, I would suggest that UCLA is going to have more problems even than Washington this year. For the obvious reason. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'd rather play UCLA on the road, and I'd rather, if you're going to get another team, you're going to get one of them at home. I'd rather take Washington at home.
Right. And here's what some people might say. Well, yeah, but you have to play UCLA in the Rose Bowl. I got news for them. There might be 30,000 people in that Rose Bowl to watch UCLA play. If they're lucky, there'll be 50,000. Maybe when Iowa plays there, maybe it'll be 70,000 because of all those Iowa fans that'll be out there.
Are we going out there, Don? You and I?
I wasn't planning on it. If you can find a private jet, I'll be happy to jump on with you.
All right. That's a fun trip, though. I think for a lot of Iowa fans, we'll probably go ahead and make that happen. But you're right. I mean, it's a down year for UCLA, and hey, by the time Iowa plays them, their season could be completely over in November. So, and frankly, I think when they play these road games, with the exception being Ohio State, when these games are played, Don, is also in Iowa's favor because they get UCLA late. And if you're afraid of going out west to a Rose Bowl, boy, again, that season could be just about done for the Bruins by November 8th. And I think another team that could be dangerous is Maryland. And maybe Maryland's playing for a lot on November 23rd. But, hey, this is a new-look Terps team without Tagovailoa. They could be in a position where their fan base is not that excited. Now, they don't have as difficult of a schedule as some, but they do play at Oregon. Unfortunately, the game at Penn State is the last game of the season, so it's leading up. Iowa's contest against the Terps is right before, but they get USC at home. I just think that the schedule works out the way you'd like. I don't know if Maryland traditionally, at least in the last under Michael Oxley, Don, they tend to finish poorly. I mean, how many times have we seen them rattle off 4 to 5 games to start the season, and then they just barely get to bowl eligibility?